All right. Hello, folks. It is Thursday, Southwest Mississippi. We're not in the catch pen. We're in the barn. I'm in the hay barn right now, and I hope my hay holds out. But anyway, it is cold. It is wet. I couldn't stay in the catch pen. It's just too muddy. I fed earlier today, and they made a mess out of that thing. But I will tell you this, there's some folks north of us and west of us that are going through some hard times right now. Ice, snow, sleet, all the rest. It's bad. And we're going to keep y'all in our prayers, all right? Because I know how hard it is when it's this cold. This kind of weather right here really weeds out a lot of people. They say they won't be in the cow business until wintertime. That's going to separate us, isn't it? Anyway, I've had 7 good calves born this past 2 or 3 weeks. I'm happy. Grass is short. Hay is going to be a little short this year, but that's okay. We're going to make it. We're going to make it. But anyway, just to let you know, my life is not normal, okay? I went over to go get some other hay from another place. It wasn't as good a hay as this in a barn, but it was going to feed them, okay? I went over there with my tractor. I thought I had enough fuel. I know none of y'all have ever run out of fuel in your tractor, all right? I know that, so get your laugh in now. I'm coming back home. Tractor run out of fuel. I'm a good mile away from the house. I walk all the way to the house. I get some fuel. I have to get my wife. I say, hey, Barbara, come on. You're going to have to drive me back down to the tractor. Why? She said. I said, well, because I ran out of fuel, okay? And anyway, bless her heart. She's the best wife you could ever have. She drove me back down to my tractor. We got it started. I came on home with the hay. She drove my truck home. That's good, because I certainly didn't want to walk another mile back down to my truck. But anyhow, that's what days are like on the farm, isn't it? Come on, folks. You know what I'm talking about. If it can go wrong, it will. But anyway, it's been a pretty good day in spite of the weather. I was at school this morning and I was telling the young people there at school the story of the prodigal son. I just want y'all to hold on, okay? The story of the prodigal son is a good story, but you need to know this. It's not a story about the lost. It's a story about the children of God. You just listen. It says in the story, you know the story, it's in Luke, I believe Luke chapter 15. Yeah, Luke 15. I probably won't read it out here because it's long-winded. But it said there was 2 sons, and one of them had become tired of living on a farm. Some salesman, maybe a fertilizer salesman came by, or a seed salesman, I don't know, came by the farm and talked about the city. And that young man said, man, I want to go see the city. That sounds like a good place to go. He said, I feel like I'm just dying on this farm. I've got to get away. So he went to his father and he said, Dad, you know, I know I'm supposed to wait until you die to ask for this, but I just can't wait that long. Could you please give me what's mine? Divide the estate among my older brother and me. I don't know why his father did it, but he did. He gave that boy half of the place. It must have been a lot of money. The story goes on to say that young man went to the city. He went somewhere where he had never been before, but he always dreamed of going. And when he got there, he was overwhelmed by all the lights, the music, the people, just the comings and going of all the people. He was overwhelmed. One guy come up probably alongside of him and said, "Hey man, what are you doing down here?" "I come to see the city." He said, "Well, it's going to take a little money." He said, "I got a little money." So listen to me. A lot of people helped this young man spend his money. We know by the story that he lived a prodigal life. We call this the story of the prodigal son. The word prodigal means extravagant living. So this young man went to the city. He went to the city and he lived a loose life. I asked the teenagers today, what does a loose life mean? They wouldn't believe what I got. They don't know because they haven't lived, okay? But it said he lived a loose life. His own brother said he spent the estate on prostitute and partying. Wow, that's a lot. So this young man is in another world, another country, another place, living a life he could never have imagined. And he thinks he is really popular because everybody is helping him, what? Spend his money. I told him, I said, you be careful. If all you've got are friends that want to help you spend your money, they're not your friends. Then it goes on in the story and says, when he got through spending all his money, listen to me now, when he got through spending all his money, that's when a famine hit the land. Everybody was broke. And our man we're talking about, he was double broke. He had nothing. It said in the story, he went out and found a job feeding pigs. What a job for a Jewish boy, right? Feeding the pigs. And it said in the story, he would have loved to have eaten what the pigs were eating. That's how hungry he was. Are you listening? And if you have ever fed pigs, if you've ever fed pigs, you will know how bad, I'm telling you folks, pigs can smell the worst. I believe God made them the worst smelling animal in the world. The reason why is because they love to smell that way. I don't know. I could tell you another story, but I won't right now. I have been in a pig pen. I have been belly deep in a pig pen, and it stinks. But anyway, it said this young man was feeding the pigs, and he had what we call an epiphany. Are you listening? An epiphany. The light came on. He said, why am I sitting here starving to death when my father has slaves that are eating way better than I'm eating? He said, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my father and say, Father, I've sinned against heaven. I've sinned against you. I want to be your slave. I would be happy to be your servant. So he got up and he went home. He came to his senses and he went home. On his way home, there was a lot of time to talk to God, wasn't there? And it says in the story that the father was looking down the road. I can only imagine the father probably looked down that road frequently to see what was coming down that road. And that day, he saw somebody coming. He didn't know who it was. But the longer he looked, the more he recognized the way his son used to walk. That's all I can say. I don't know. And he saw that young man coming towards him. Now remember, he'd been working pigs. He stunk like a pig. You can't get that away from you, all right? And in the story, in the Bible, it says the father saw him and ran to him. There's an old Christian song back in the 70s that said, the only time God ran was when he ran to that son. That's a good story. So the father runs to his son. He ran to him. Are you listening? He ran to him. It said he embraced him, pig stink and all. Pig stink and all. Golly. He embraced him. Why? Because he loved him. He recognized this is the son I thought was dead. Now he's alive. He was lost. Now he's found. And the father said, bring the robe, bring the ring, bring the sandals. Let's have a party. Kill the fatted calf. It's a great story, folks. It's the most wonderful story. How a young man who went out and lived a life that was not a good life. But he came to his senses and he came home, and his father received him. This is not a story. Listen to me now. I know it's going to be a little long-winded. This is not a story of somebody who is not a believer. This is a story for somebody who is a believer, somebody who is a child of God, who has gone out in the world and has gone astray. Somebody who is, I've been there. I know this story. I've lived this story. Some of you are listening right now have lived this story. You've gone out, done what you thought was right, and it was wrong. You found yourself in a place you didn't belong, just like in a pig pen. And you had an epiphany. You had a moment where you came to your senses and you came back to God. And God did not require you to clean yourself up. See, the young man repented in the pig pen. He said, if I could only go home, I will tell my father I have sinned against you and against heaven. That's repentance. The young man came home and the father received him, pig stink and all. Folks, are you out in the pig pen right now? Is there somebody listening to this tonight? Are you in the pig pen? Are you waiting for a signal from heaven? This may be it. Come to your senses. Come back to God. He will receive you because you are of great value. He paid the ultimate price for you. He gave his own life for you, and he will receive you back home. He will kill the fatted calf. He will receive you as a son. Now listen to what I'm about to tell you. If the young man stayed in the pig pen, guess what? He's a pig. Are you listening? He's a pig. But he didn't stay there. He came to his senses and came home. Why? Because he's a son. Are you a son? Are you a daughter of God? Are you out where you don't need to be? I pray you will have that come to your senses moment in your life. Hey, I've been long-winded. I apologize, but I think it's a story you and I need to hear. You guys take care. I will see you next Thursday.